So we're gonna try to drag him into the one of the corners if he goes on the ground. Because we should get better bounces with the tornadoes there. Basically, my damage is very heavy on if we get overlaps or not. If we get more overlaps, more damage. No overlap is 0 damage, basically. Really unlucky. We almost killed him before he went underground, but yeah. A little RNG with the overlaps, right? If we get more overlaps and then tornadoes hit him, way more damage. If you get lucky. Alright, last wave. Alright, got hit. That's not good. This fucking ring guy is so annoying. Honestly, he was the most dangerous part. Alright, finally. Deathless, wave 15. This is T15, some delirium. No mods really. This is just the clearing and how the build works in the map. So Crypt is one of the best maps for the build because of the hallways and the bounces. I can show you guys here. Basically, you do 3, it'll clear multiple screens, so pretty good clear. Skill's really good against Ritual. Honestly, better than Lightning Spear for Ritual because you can just barrage. Launch multiple twisters, and basically as soon as the enemy spawns, they die. As far as Ritual goes, you can see right here. Ritual's not too bad either. This all has Pierce. So, pretty decent against Expedition too. Sorry for the lack of updates. I just wanted to show off my .2 PoE 2 update build that I started with. We hit level 95 as an Amazon. We are a whirling / twister combo attack build. The bread and butter of this build is, as far as playstyle, whirling / 3 times, press barrage, and press twister, and you unleash all these twisters. Pretty good clear skill, honestly. If Lightning Spear did not exist, this would be probably one of the better clear skills in the game. In certain mechanics like Ritual, it is actually better than Lightning Spear, but that's just because any enclosed arena where it can just bounce against the walls a bunch of times, it has really good clear. And once you have enough prod speed and duration, really good coverage for clear. And as far as maps go, anything that has corridors or semi-enclosed is really good for the build, obviously. Small arenas like Olroth, Xesht, and parts of the King of the Mist area boss fight. If it's a small enclosed area, you get like 2, 3, 4 times the damage, obviously. Yes, you get more bounces and more overlaps. But in wide areas in particular, Arbiter Fight, terrible, because you're just not going to get any overlap or bounces in that arena because it's just too big. If you drag them into the corner, maybe you could get some bounces, but you have to drag them into the corner, and even then, it's still not very good because once it hits like one side, it's gonna take forever to hit the other side and come back. Um, so very bad DPS for Arbiter Fight in particular. Otherwise, I did all the T4 pinnacles. I finished Simulacrum with it. Pretty solid for Simulacrum. Like I said, enclosed areas where it can bounce against the walls. It has 100% pierce, so pretty good against clear. Pretty good for Simulacrum, I will say, relatively speaking. We are ES Life Hybrid, as like all builds basically. Decently tanky between evasion. We also have 75 max block from the shield. We do take 15% damage for every block hit, so it's not pure block. But still, between that and the evasion, we are quite tanky, and obviously we have around 5k base HP slash ES pool. As far as playstyle goes, fairly comfy. 3 Whirling Slashes, Barrage, and Twister. And that's the bread and butter of the build. Maybe 2 Whirling Slashes if you have less higher gear and you don't need to do, and you're doing something easy, you can do 2 slashes and then Twister. The better gear you have, the less slashes you need to do before you unleash the Twister. And as far as that, I would say the worst parts about the build, since we are using unique boots that drop to shocking ground, well, they are slow, 10% speed, which feels bad. I would say probably that's the worst part about the build. Since we are using these unique boots, the 10% movement speed feels quite bad. We are using the boots because we are removing one button. So normally, before I got the boots, I was using Frostbolt, so that was leaving cold ground, so that means my twisters would get the cold element. So it would chill and freeze. But obviously, that's extra button. This just simplifies the button combo. Right here, 3 times, barrage. It's way simpler. Just for quality of life, I would never use the Frostbolt, honestly. It's just too much of a loss of quality of life to use. And, yeah, that's basically the build. Pretty good starter, I think. Pretty solid combo build. Pretty fun overall. So the gear, really quickly, you have to use the Flying Spear base. Why? The implicit gives you projectile speed. Projectile speed is really important for clear and damage, because the faster the twisters move through projectile speed, the more chance of overlap and the better clear you'll have. So this is why this is the best base. After that, you want an accuracy roll, the highest fizz slash lightning flat damage you can get. And then on the suffix, because we are a Amazon, you really want crit multi damage bonus, because that's multiplicative. So if that's what it reads right there is 20%, 21% more crit multi, which is really strong since we are stacking crit multi, and we are stacking crit through the Amazon Ascendancy. Attack speed is just quality life. It makes this combo faster. You can do that to build 3 whirlwind charges much faster. And if you get flat crit, that's also really good. And that's basically what you want for your spear. It is highly likely until you super endgame that accuracy rune will be your best rune. So put in flat accuracy rune. Because through the Ascendancy in Amazon, that gives you flat physical damage on your weapon. As far as helmet goes, you just want the highest ES helmet. Why? Highest ES helmet because of subterfuge. Each 1 ES equals 2 evasion rating, and we are ES slash life hybrid build. So just get that. Highest ES. Suffixes are just res stats. Nothing important there. Same thing with the shield. The most important stat here in the shield is actually block chance. You could also use the scepter, which is optional in the end game. You could change that shock cast on shock to cast on critical if you are using a scepter, because the scepter will give you no spear to do that. and you could get a bunch of support scepter or support gem buffs from your extra spirit that you have through the scepter. So that's another option. As far as your amulet, you want spirit. You want a minimum of, I believe, 30 spirit from the amulet. 30 spirit will let you use cast on shock for a single target. That's all you need. Ideally, 40 spirit is really what you want to hit because you can use precision. I have extra spirit. I just randomly had extra spirit because the one we got hit 50 spirit. The extra spirit let me use life gain on kill to cannibalism. That one doesn't really matter, but precision is quite nice for a higher crit chance through the Amazon stats. You want energy shield, life, suffix. You want crit chance, just resistance, nothing special. Since we are a max block through the tree, I anointed Lay on Siege. That's 1% increased damage per block. We are block cap, so that's 75% more damage there. Chest, you just want the highest ES evasion chest as possible, and then on the suffix, get resistance stats. Ring here, you want flat damage on prefixes and suffixes, stats, resist, same thing. Same thing here. Accuracy is also okay because that gives you base crit. Not the best, but obviously you can get what you can find. The gloves here, you want attack speed on the suffix is quite nice. There's also crit damage multi on the suffix. You could get either or. And just fix your stats. You can also get flat damage on the prefix, which we probably should have gotten. ES base is the best, so you can have higher life total against one shots, which is the most dangerous part since you're gonna have evasion and max block. So against small hits, it should be fine, honestly. Once again, belt, life, mana, not really any important mods, honestly. Just get good suffixes here. Boots, unique boots, get corruption if you can afford it. 5% move speed, I would say, is the best because we are lacking in move speed because, yeah, 10% move speed boots aren't very good. And I use a stone charm as far as for clear. You can also use freeze. Flasks don't really matter, and that's basically it for the gear. I'm going to go over the gems really quickly right now. So, Raise Shield, we rarely use this. I have Unbreakable from our stun threshold. You can use this to block stuff, but I just don't use it very often. Just extra. In Spear Throw, I have my single target gems for Twister. In Twister right here, we have Long Shot. So, Long Shot starts giving you 30% damage at 7 meters. As far as I understand it, basically, as soon as a Twister travels, like, say, to the edge of the screen, from that point onward, all the travel distance is, like, +7. So, do 30% extra damage. But because of the playstyle, you are using Whirling Slash, which means you're basically at melee range against the boss. So your initial overlaps and your initial hits will do 0 bonus damage. This is why I usually use Deliberate. So if it travels to the edge of the screen and then it keeps hitting the enemy, it'll do more damage with Long Shot. But Deliberate is more consistent damage, so usually I use Deliberate because it's 20% more damage all the time. Alright, so you see the first skill here is the one from the Amazon Ascendancy, Infused Weapon. It's not very good. I just put in all the damage links and Culling Strike in it mostly. It doesn't really do that much because basically what it means is when these twisters expire, this is when the damage happens, if we get the buff. Like there. So it's very random. You're not going to get a lot of overlaps, and it's just not that good for the build. Honestly, the last 7C points last two aren't very good. We have Culling Strike there. There's not too many good options, so it is what it is. As far as Twister, our main damage links are Persistence, more uptime, equals more overlaps, more damage. Salvo is needed. This is the thing that gem that makes all your twisters go in random directions that spawn from you. Also, it gives seal every 2 seconds up to 3. That means you get +6 projectiles. That means way more chance for overlap. So each time we press twister, all these twisters count as one attack. And as far as I understand it, at most one of these can do damage to the boss or enemy every 0.66 seconds. So even though there's like 8, it's not 8 damage. This is just 1 damage as long as one of these is touching the enemy. But you have a way higher chance for this to overlap against the enemy at 24/7 every 0.66 seconds, and it just helps with the clear. So this is not on paper DPS, but obviously a ton of DPS in reality. And next is retreat. Every time we do a melee attack in the last 8 seconds, you get 25% more damage. We are using Whirling Slash to create the tornado, which gives 240% more damage, 80% per whirlwind prop, like buff here we're building up. So that obviously we are always attacking melee range, so that's a very good gem. Overextend for crit multi. If you have enough crit multi, this is on POB, one of my strongest gems. And Volt for single target, or Volt for clear, I mean. So this one will give you Chain for your twisters, which helps with the clear quite a lot. And Deliberate is what I swap in for single target. Alright, so as far as auras here, we have Cast on Shock. This is for single target only. I turn off Combat Frenzy, I turn off Herald of Thunder, put Profusion up here, and turn it on. This has Sniper's Mark. That's how I get Frenzies in single target scenario. Energy Retention, and Impetus, just for more energy. Normally for clear, we got Combat Frenzy, Profusion. This is how we get our charges. Every time we electrocute enemy, we get charges. So that is how I'm getting charges. And how do we electrocute? We electrocute through Herald of Thunder. So the main links here to care about are Electrocute, Neuro Overload, and Innervate. The last two, you don't really need to do this. This is just, I just want to test out if there's any good 5th or 6th link. They're sort of marginal, a little bit more damage to Elemental Focus, a little bit more AoE to Reach. But you really just need the 4 link for the main links. You get Innervate bonus quite often when you are mapping, and you get Electrocute through here, which generates the Frenzy charges here. So Whirling Slash, this is the move you see me do all the time. This is the thing we have to do 3 times to give a 2.4%, 240% more damage to the Twister when we unleash it. We attack 3 times before the Twister. So this is linked to martial tempo, so it's faster. Blood in the Eyes, this gives Hobble. If the enemy has a lower evasion, because we're Amazon, it gives us more crit chance. Rage, you get extra rage on hit. You could also use Font of Rage here. It will build up rage. That Whirlwind actually gives rage, so Font of Rage is also optional link you could try. Splinter here to break the armor. We are like 60 to 70% physical damage and 30% lightning. So that is why breaking armor, which is 20% more physical damage taken by the enemy, is very strong. Yes, this is all just supportive. The Twister is the main damage. This is just a supportive skill. And Lacerate, we need to bleed the enemy. If we bleed them, we can use Blood and Eyes to hobble them. They get no evasion. That means you have higher accuracy against them. And Amazon Ascendancy gives us higher crit through that. So Thundersleep, sometimes I use this jump gaps. Just travel. It doesn't really matter about the links. It's whatever. I have Ancestral, so it does a little bit more damage. Conk around when it lands. And a little bit more evasion when I'm jumping. It doesn't matter. Irrelevant, really. Put in whatever you want. So Barrage, Premeditation. So we are empowering our Twister. 15% more damage. Ingenuity, so it has a better CDR. Twofold. So there's a chance sometimes you can see me unleash a lot of Twisters all at once. That's because it has a chance to double the benefits from the Frenzy charge. So sometimes we have 8 Twisters from a single attack get unleashed. And Perpetual Charge for a chance not to use Frenzies. And counting as consuming them. As far as the last 2 auras is Wind Dancer. It doesn't really matter. This is if you have extra spirit. We have Cannibalism for a bit life gain on kill. And we got Fast Forward with Ghost Dance and Precision. Precision is pretty strong. You really do want that 10 Spirit Aura here, support gem here, because our accuracy equals crit since we are Amazon. So I'm going to go over the tree really quickly. As far as the Ascendancy goes, get Predatory Instinct first. This gives you 20 to, was it, like around 23% more damage against rares and uniques. So that's just instant damage right there. Critical Strike for getting the crit. Penetrate for flat damage. The last node, I was experimental with Elemental Infusion. It's not very good. Honestly, all the nodes that are possible are not very good. I would say the best one's probably In for the Kill because you do get the movement speed and skill speed, but obviously it's not consistent. So it's okay, but this one doesn't really do that much. I was just experimenting with it, and this basically just gives me culling. A little bit clear, but mostly culling strike. This one we are hybrid, so life leech is not that great because we have more ES than life. And by the time we get to life, we're already probably in a bad situation. So not very useful. Same thing here, life recovery, mana recovery. And this Stalking Panther is not very good. Pure ES helmet because of subterfuge on the tree, which requires a pure ES helmet. And what do we have here? This could be pure evasion and then unique boots, so no evasion here, so not very good. So I would just go for that instead. As far as the tree goes, we go here. Since we are always meleeing, this is 30% more damage to Whirling Slash, so pretty good here. I went the max block route, like I said in the video earlier. You could drop the block. We are pretty tanky with evasion already, so that would allow you to use the scepter and get more spirit. And then you could use cast on critical and things like that. More damage. The Twister does blinds, so all these blind nodes are quite strong because the Twister automatically blinds when it hits them. And the Whirling slash Whirlwind also blinds. We're going up here, getting as much crit nodes as possible. The starting area for is really strong over here. A lot of good nodes, some movement speed, some evasion, hybrid, ES. Crit nodes once again. Spectral Ward up here. And usually they never break our ES, so this is quite strong. Generic attack damage. As far as gems go, you are jewels. You are really looking for a projectile speed, and past projectile speed, any combo, damage, crits, attack speed, whatever you can find for the build. So just aim for projectile speed there. As far as tree goes, we go down here from our movement speed. Same thing here, and one more jewel slot. Attack damage, I'll get all the spear nodes, some skill speed, some attack speed through flat accuracy, which we are stacking quite a bit. You can see right here. In my endgame version, we have about 5k accuracy, so that's quite a bit of attack speed. Between this and this, we will be block capped, depending on which shield you're using. But that's quite a bit of defense. You could also drop the block if you want more damage instead of defensive stats. Crit here. So the one thing about the jewel here, the From Nothing, we are using a unique one that gives us Resolute Technique. Resolute Technique gives us access to over here. So I got the 3% more max life and stun threshold. Honestly, I didn't really feel it, so I dropped it. But the three really good nodes we get through this is skill effect duration, which increases the uptime for the tornado. That means more time for overlaps, better clear because it has can travel farther. So this is 40% increased skill effect duration, so super strong. And one really good node for our crits, 20% more chance for damage, 20% crit multi, 20% more stun with crits. We actually stun quite a bit. We are, like I said, 70%-ish physical and only 30%-ish elemental. That's also why you see me not having any elemental damage on the tree. No increased lightning, no lightning pen, none of that stuff, because we do mostly physical damage. Even though we do lightning, we are 70% physical build, so that lightning damage is just extra on top. It gives us shock, but we're not really investing in it because most of my damage is physical damage. That's why most of the nodes are attack damage generic. That means it affects the lightning and also affects the physical. That's what you're aiming for. You're not aiming for elemental damage or increased lightning damage because, like I said, only about 30% of my damage is that damage. We need generic damage or generic attack damage for the build or crit. And that's the tree. I anointed this Lay Siege because, like I said a little bit earlier, we have 75% block. That is 75% more generic damage, which is really strong. And that's the build.